The other debate that I'm seeing a lot on social media amongst fans is about Bregman. I'm seeing that, Bregman's struggles are being hidden by Abreu's struggles. Is that fair, or Abreu's or is it Jose Abreu's struggles masking criticisms that we would be otherwise making about Alex Bregman right now?
To an extent, yes. Multiple factors involved. One, while Bregman stinks so far this season on balance, he hasn't been Abreu bad, because if your name is not Martin Maldonado, offensively, it's hard to be Abreu bad, as bad as he's been so far. But I think a fundamental factor, Alex Bregman has been a star here. So there's a reservoir of goodwill, a reservoir of Astro performance, a reservoir of expectation, a reservoir of sluggish Bregman starts from which he's extricated himself. So I think that all cuts in Bregman's favor in terms of the new kid on the block getting more brunt of criticism than Bregman. But Bregman's been lousy so far this season. If not for the walks, he'd be Abreu-esque. Bregman's been a 98-pound weakling, 4 doubles, 4 home runs. He's slugging 320. The batting average 195 now. At least he does draw the walk, so the on-base percentage isn't pitiful. And since he's batting at the top of the lineup, at least that gives you something. But he's also one of the slowest players on the team, so he's not a base-stealing threat. He's not going to go first to home on a double unless it's in a deep gap somewhere. He has not been a net winning player so far this season. My broader concern on Bregman, he was last an elite player in 2019. Right? He's 29 years old now, and, well, we want him to be an Astro for life. Yeah, 10 years, $300 million for the Bregman of post-2019? I don't think so. The elite third baseman grouping, and here's the caveat that we're still not 1/4 of the way through the season. Nolan Arenado with the Cardinals so far this year. Manny Machado's picked it up with the Padres, but, he's not MVP runner-up level so far this season. Rafael Devers, beast. Jose Ramirez, beast. Bregman has been as good as those guys over the last several seasons. So I don't know where he's going to settle in. His final numbers last year were just fine when he seemingly figured it out and was tremendous over the last 2 months of the season. Well, I guess he didn't figure it out with rollover into the following season. So where is Bregman going to wind up? If it's back at the very good player level, that's fine. If other things pick up and you get Altuve back and you get a contribution from Brantley. But, if the idea is that Alex Bregman is a superstar, a $30, $35 million player, and of course you need to lock him up until 2030. No, not this year, and not really what we've seen in the last 3-4 years. ... The Astros have 0 third baseman in their farm system that you think, there's an heir apparent, unless someone chooses to wildly overrate Joe Perez.
Yeah, I think he's getting covered up a little bit, just like everybody else. But Bregman's not 36 years old. There's still hope that he's going to turn it around and be fine. And you're not on the hook for his 36, 37, and 38-year-old seasons. Bregman's also playing good defense. That's something he brings with him to the ballpark every day. So as Charlie mentioned, he's got that goodwill. The back half of last season, he was really good, back up to what you'd expect from Bregman's numbers over the course of his career. So, yeah, you're going to get a break when you're Alex Bregman and you got 2 rings. And he was so clutch in the playoffs last season. I mean, he was terrific. So that wasn't that long ago when he was doing that in October. So we're going to give Bregman a little bit of a pass, and because we've seen it before from him.
And that's fair, unfair. We're used to seeing Bregman up close and personal with our own eyes. And so while Abreu's reputation may be the same, we've seen Bregman run into home runs this year. And I know his slugging's not where we'd want it, but Bregman's run into home runs that still show that he has power in the bat and that his is a mechanical thing. When you're saying Abreu's is a mechanical thing, or at least we're hearing that from Alex Centron or like the guys that are in charge of fixing him, I don't know that bat speed is something that can be fixed mechanically outside of just guessing on pitches. Whereas Bregman, there clearly looks like there is a mechanical issue there. We're not used to seeing him take pitches for strike threes. This is something that we've seen year after year for him, where he eventually works it out. And again, as much as the broadcast carries water for Jose Abreu and they do a fine job of it, when they talk about his exit velo being up there and, he had 107, but it was right at somebody. Yeah, except for it's the exit velo combined with the trajectory. Whereas, Alex Bregman, when he runs into one, can still put it in the Crawford boxes or well above. So I don't have as much concern there. But I do have concern about what is the long-term plan there. Charlie, you mentioned Alex Bregman's speed. This is now multiple seasons in which he's gone into deep slumps in the regular season. He tends to figure it out when it matters, which was always kind of the kind of knock on Correa, which was that the numbers during the seasons weren't consistent, but he always showed up when it counted. So you kind of alluded to a little bit. You can't necessarily think it's a given that he gets re-signed, given the fact that, again, all those things that I just mentioned, the speed around the base path and his seemingly the regularity in which he's going into these deep slumps during the season, right? Like, this isn't a foregone conclusion that he gets extended on this team.
Yeah, to engage in even a 5-year, $150 million extension at this point, to me, would be ridiculous. That's taking him out through his age 35 season, and I want to see what he is over the rest of this year and next. And if he does get back on what we think of as a normal Bregman track, though in full season numbers, he was last on that track in 2019. But, you do need to, if you're still in a phase where you're expecting to win and be a contender and still pursue more division championships and beyond, you do need to cover all the spots in the lineup, not at obscenely stupid money. But until your farm system is producing good, regular, everyday players again, well, what are you going to do? And Bregman and Altuve up at the same time. I think the reality with Bregman, even at just 29 years old, his very best baseball is probably behind him in terms of full season stuff. Now, in part, that's because 2018 and 2019, he was awesome. A top 5 MVP finish, and then the runner-up finish to where you certainly had an argument for him over Trout. But 29, you're typically past your absolute physical peak. They measure everything these days, and Bregman was never a burner, never a base stealer guy. But to this point in the season, the metrics, he's one of the 20% slowest guys in Major League Baseball. So if that's, not that quick twitch running muscles were ever his thing, but if there's a little chip away, little erosion there, and maybe his hands aren't quite as quick at the plate. At his contact rate, it's not like he's striking out by the bushel full, but when he makes contact, a lot of lazy fly balls to right field. Just pop-ups, not as much hard contact. And to amplify on Abreu, anyone explaining, well, if this, if that on Abreu, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. It's so bad. By any legitimate or fantastical measure, he has been a nonstop sinkhole of performance this season. And I'll give him one last time. I guess next week we still won't be to May 16th, but just about. On May 16th last year, he woke up batting 197. Well, he's in the 220s now, but he wasn't completely devoid of power last year, in addition to the batting average being at 220. A cleanup hitter on a nightly basis with an OPS of 520. The Royals and Tigers of the world, I think, laugh at that, but that's what the Astros have in their lineup virtually every night.
And I think that's why he's getting so much heat, guys, Abreu, because Dusty keeps running him out there in the 4-hole, and you see how many times he just kills you. I mean, it's just so apparent that it's like you don't have a chance. So,
he and Bregman are the two guys who played every inning.
Yeah. Bregman's played Abreu's played all these games. We know about Tucker, but that's the thing. When it's right in front of your face like that, it's kind of on Dusty why Abreu is taking some more of these bullets, because he keeps putting him out there in the 4 spot. And that makes me think, too, when McCormick comes back, how much is that going to matter? He was having trouble getting playing time over Jake Myers before. Jake's actually been pretty good. I don't know how much it's going to change until Brantley and Altuve are back.
I think with McCormick returning, though, I think what that does is give Dusty a little bit of flexibility in being able to rest Tucker, because he's said to this point that he really hasn't had the defensive, I guess, tools to be able to rest Tucker. So maybe that gives him the ability to either put Tucker in the DH or rest him.
So the 36-year-old guy, not worth a damn so far. He's in there every day, come hell or high water. But the 26-year-old right fielder, who's one of your two consistent forces of quality in the lineup, boy, we got to get him a day off. Got to get him a day off when they've had every Thursday off now for like 6 weeks. But every little bit helps if McCormick can pick up where he left off statistically. But geez, to just run Abreu out in a cleanup spot. Well, he has a track record. Well, he now has about a 6-week track record with the Astros that you need to try something else. I'm not saying send him to the end of the bench and forget about him for good. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right now it's broke. So try a little something to fix it or just shake it up a little bit. Right? He batted 6th once in a game last week, first time in his career. Needs to be a steady diet of that. Absolutely. Once Altuve and Brantley are both here.
Yeah, and it is interesting the amount of I guess flack he's taken in the cleanup spot when they've moved Alex Bregman up in the order, and now he's hitting under 200 in this 2-hole. We'll just have to see how it plays out. I mean, I think the lineup thing is about the consistency of that can affect the consistency of how you're winning day in, day out. But if these guys aren't producing, it's not going to matter in what order that they're in come playoff time, or should there even be a playoff time at this point, which is sacrilege to say in Houston, but we're becoming more deep into the season. As I talked about in the open, at the cold open, is the Astros are pushing the limits over how long you can call something a slump before it just is who they are. That brings us to our bottom line question of the week. This is where I pose a question and everybody gets a chance to answer. So as I pose it to my co-hosts, everybody who's watching this, please put your answers in the comments in the section below. And guys, we had the good news over the weekend that Jose Altuve is ahead of schedule. There is some thought that perhaps he will be back by the end of this month, May. So my question is this: will Jose Abreu hit a home run before Jose Altuve returns?
As an Astro, Jose Altuve, not as a space cowboy or Hook, wherever they send him out for rehab.
No, I'm not going to qualify it. It's him on the main roster.
Well, being the cockeyed fanboy homer that I am, Abreu will probably hit one 475 off Ohtani Tuesday night in Anaheim. As pathetic as he's been, and it's well over a month, and he's sitting on that donut with the Astros. But if we say Altuve's going out for rehab this weekend, and it's just a week there, he's back as soon as May 19th. Oh, boy. I'm going to give Abreu one last benefit of the doubt because that's just the kind of guy I am.
Nice.
I'll go the other side. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but we're sitting here talking about Bregman. I'm like, he has more than 0 home runs, guys. So just putting that out there.
Yep. I'm going to go with Josh on this. And I've never been called a cockeyed optimist or a fanboy of the team, although I probably am the latter. I have been called an uncharismatic guy with host with a crooked beard by our commenters. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with no on that. And that's just because I like to bet on the trends, and I haven't really seen anything out of Jose Abreu that could tell me. But what I'm hoping is that in much of the same way that every time we do one of these podcasts, that the news cycle tends to step on it. I'm hoping that by the time this video gets released, this video get released, I'm sure sooner, but by the time this video gets released, I'm hoping that we will be on the verge of, if not already witnessing, a grand, massive Jose Abreu home run. So
I'm just having a serious shift in focus to concern for those obsessed with your facial hair.
It is what it is, but those are the comments.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.